Let's talk about how many LLCs you can have. The thing is that a lot of folks are interested in having multiple LLCs for multiple reasons. And the most important one of which is that you want to really cover your assets. You want to really protect your assets. Okay. So here's the approach I really want you to pay attention to as we discuss how many LLCs you can have. Now, there are some problems with owning more than one LLC. Before I even talk to you about multiple LLC, you need to understand that when you have more than one LLC, you need to be aware of certain quote unquote challenges. You can form multiple LLCs to pursue different business goals and keep your assets separate and protected among ventures, right? Especially when you have real estate entrepreneurs, they like that setup a lot. First of all, the first problem is you got to think about conflict of interest. When you start a business, you take on what's known as the fiduciary duty to the business, which means what? It means that you are basically expected to act in good faith towards your business, its members, and its employees. In other words, we're talking about you being faithful, quote unquote, faithful here to all the stakeholders of the business. Though the law is not crystal clear in every state, assume that if you have two businesses directly competing with one another, you may face legal trouble. So this is so the first challenge here is conflict of interest. Not just one conflict, you can have multiple conflicts of interest. The second potential problem is the burden of maintaining separate businesses. If you operate multiple separate LLCs, you take on maintenance responsibilities for each one separately. That means what? It means if you own 4 LLCs, for example, you must go through the formation process 4 times, hire a registered agent for all 4 LLCs, create 4 operating agreements, file at least 4 tax returns each year at least, obtain 4 sets of tax ID numbers, so those are EINs, file annual reports, and pay annual fees for 4 businesses. You also got to think about the cost of forming more than one LLC. So you'll be responsible for the full cost of starting an LLC for each one you form. Costs to form an LLC include a filing fee for formation documents, paying a registered agent, filing fees for annual reports, and yearly taxes for each LLC you own. Okay, this is really important to remember that. Boss, welcome back to the show. It's really a pleasure to have you here. Make yourself comfortable. You are going to enjoy today's conversation. Let me dig a little deeper here. I want to talk to you about the pros and cons of owning multiple LLCs. So whether you should separate LLCs depends on your specific situation and business goals. So the thing is that the advice we're giving you here is based on solid research, but your situation again might be a little different. So either you can ask us to clarify things for you in the comment section below, or you can send us a private email and we'll just answer you. Our team will get back to you to sort of but please, you want to specify your city and state where you're writing from, so we have a clear idea about the laws in your state. Yeah, the LLC laws in your state. Okay, so. But you can also consult with a business law firm or tax professional if you are considering starting multiple LLCs. There are common advantages and disadvantages to owning more than one business, including. Now, I want to first talk about the pros here. So when we talk about owning multiple LLCs, a few of the advantages include strong liability protection. So you basically are trying to protect your ass. You're trying to cover your ass in every venture you are engaged in. So if something were to happen, you know that you are really covered full to like A to Z. You're able to keep assets separate. So each LLC is protected from the potential failure of another. You may have tax benefits in some cases, and it's easy to change the tax structure among LLCs. For example, the default pass-through taxation. You can go from that to the C Corp or S Corp. It really depends on, you really have flexibility. And again, we're talking here about each LLC separately. So what you decide to do with LLC A it has nothing to do with what you decide to do on LLC B, and so on and so forth. So the flexibility is there. What about the cons here? You got to maintain separate bank accounts. You got to file multiple annual reports and tax returns. You have additional filing fees for each business filing. For instance, in California, as an LLC, you got to pay $800 per year. So if you have 4 LLCs or 5 LLCs, you're paying $800 for each of the 4 or 5 LLCs. And also you need to create multiple operating agreements. Okay, and all of those things must be legit. Boss, I want to quickly remind you of today's topic. We are having a conversation about how many LLCs you can have. Even though owning multiple LLCs is a great sort of business perspective, there are alternatives to multiple LLCs. So if you have more than one business idea to pursue, you have options. You can operate multiple businesses under one LLC or form separate LLCs. So now let's talk about operating multiple DBAs under one LLC. DBA, doing business as. So did you know that you can have multiple DBAs under one LLC? So the thing here is that a DBA allows you to operate your business under a different name from your formal LLC name. For example, an LLC called Jane Doe Restaurant Group LLC can operate both JJ's Dinner and the Purple Parrot Pub as two DBAs under the LLC. So, and the cool thing is, again, here we have flexibility. It's all about branding, right? And there is no need to operate multiple separate LLCs unless the business owner wanted the dinner and, the diner and pub assets to be separate. So registering multiple DBAs may be more manageable than running multiple businesses because you know what? The thing is, you are only responsible for maintaining one LLC. That's what we love. That's what we love under this setup. Now, you can include the business structure in your operating agreement. So whether you have a single member LLC or multiple members, your operating agreement can be structured however the member wanted. If the LLC registers multiple DBAs, that will need to be explained in its operating agreement. Here, we're talking here about you got to be really granular. You got to be really specific. Another way you can use your operating agreement to avoid having multiple LLCs is to affirm the separation of your business and personal assets. Okay, very important, and you can do so in the operating agreement. And also, one thing you need to also do is to have separate bank accounts. You can also outsource the accounting and the bookkeeping to a third party, so you have an accountant, like an external accountant. You can outsource the legal aspects of your business to a lawyer. So the bottom line is, in appearance and in fact, you should separate your personal affairs from your business affairs. So besides operating multiple DBAs under one LLC, you can also form something called a series LLC. Let's talk about that. So depending on where you want to start your business, you may be able to segregate your assets into various subsidiaries that can operate under a parent LLC. This is known as a series LLC and is a common option for real estate investors who want to keep properties separate under one LLC. Only certain states allow series LLCs to be formed. As of right now, we have Delaware, Illinois, Iowa, Nevada, Oklahoma, Tennessee, Texas, and Utah. Okay, so be very clear before you do anything that your state allows the formation of a series LLC, or you can say, you know what, my state does not allow it, but I'm going to incorporate anyway in a state that does. California, for instance, does not allow the creation of series LLCs, but allows such companies formed in other states to register and operate in California. So it's always important to speak with a business attorney about your options for creating a series LLC if you live in a state that doesn't recognize them. And one thing I need to say here is that though not widely available, series LLCs are more convenient than creating a separate business to keep assets totally separate. And to form a series LLC, you go through a regular LLC formation process and file additional paperwork for each quote-unquote series under the parent's LLC. It requires some extra work, but not as much if you created multiple separate LLCs. It's just one of those things where you got to really structure things from the get-go. Again, when we talk about structuring things, we're talking about the operating agreement, the articles of organization, and also the registered agent. See, the thing is, when you have a series LLC, you only have one registered agent. But if you have multiple LLCs, you're going to have multiple registered agents. And that means multiple costs, like multiple fees and so on and so forth. So if you are comfortable with the multiplicity, then go ahead with the multiple LLCs. But if you do not want to engage in multiple sort of work streams, go with a series of LLCs. Boss, I want to quickly remind you to this topic, we are having a conversation about how many LLCs can you have. Let me talk to you about how to form multiple LLCs. Let's talk about that. And by the way, to answer the question that we're asking here, how many LLCs can you have? It really depends on you. It really depends on your business goals. It depends on your operational setup, your budget. Okay, because every membership, every LLC that you create has cost. So how do you form multiple LLCs? First of all, you need to choose a name. So your LLC names must be unique from each other and from any other business operating in the state. Each name must include limited liability company, LLC, or a variation. Step number 2, you need to designate a registered agent. So every separate LLC needs a registered agent with a physical address in the state to accept official mail on behalf of the business. And so you can hire a commercial registered agent, hire a private registered agent, appoint an employee or a member of your business, or serve as your own, but your business cannot serve as its own registered agent, because the state authorities want to clearly divorce those two roles. Your business is your business, so your business cannot be its own registered agent. The third step is you need to file articles of organization. So you need to file the required formation documents, also called the certificate of formation in some states, with the appropriate agency, usually the Secretary of State, and pay the filing fee. We're talking here about what? We're talking here about filing articles of organization for each LLC. Your articles include critical business details like name and contact information, registered agent information, and occasionally management structure and purpose of business. And LLC formation documents can help you fill out and file your formation paperwork for a fee. And the thing is that, I mean, when we talk about LLC formation company, we're speaking about Zen Business. We're talking about like the usual ones, Inc. file. We're talking about yeah. So I'm blanking a little bit here, but you have a lot of them there. And the thing, so LegalZoom is another one. LegalZoom is there, and but yeah. So make sure that you have an LLC formation company help you, especially if you have multiple LLCs to file. Next, what you want to do here is you want to create an operating agreement. And this is where things can be a little complicated if you have, let's say you have a lot of LLCs to register. Even if you have a single member LLC or live in a state that does not require an operating agreement, it is a best practice to have one. This document lays out the structure of your business, including limited liability protection, management structure, voting rights, and anything else you want to apply to your business. And also in the operating agreement, you also have the LLC distribution rules. In other words, if you want to distribute money to the members, there has to be a clear process. How much, based on what and how often. So those are really important elements to really specify in the operating agreement. And here again, I just want to insist on the fact that you are actually creating an operating agreement for each LLC, and it has to be separate. And step number 5, you want to obtain an EIN. So an EIN basically is a free tax ID number from the IRS that allows you to hire and pay employees and engage in other business activities like opening a bank account or contracting with vendors. You can also use an EIN to apply for a loan, or let's say a credit card or a line of credit. Okay, and so the process here is kind of similar to an operating when drafting an operating agreement. In other words, you need to file for an EIN for each separate LLC. And the IRS does not allow you to consolidate EIN for multiple LLCs. So because at the end of the day, you're going to have to file taxes for each LLC separately. So the IRS is going to use the EIN, among other things, to track the taxes, the income, and other stuff that the LLC has. Remember that depending on how you actually structure your LLC, you may have to file Form 1065 Form 1120 or Form 1120S. If you file Form 1065 partnership or Form 1120S as corporation, you do not file taxes. You do not pay income taxes when filing the taxes at the corporate level. You pay at the individual level. But if you file Form 1120, in other words, corporation, then you have to pay taxes at the company level, but also at the individual level. So the bottom line here is that basically you can have multiple businesses under one LLC. Okay. In most instances, you can operate more than one business under an LLC by either forming multiple DBAs, creating a series LLC, or otherwise legally separating assets within your LLC. And you can have more than one LLC in every state. Yes, states actually do not prohibit anyone from owning more than one LLC. However, remember that if your businesses compete with each other, you may open yourself up to legal action. And so the big question is, given all the complexities, given all the challenges, given all the hurdles, is it really smart to have multiple LLCs? It really depends. Everything depends. See, the whole question of quote unquote smart here depends on your business goals. Whether you should have multiple LLCs depends on your business goals and the structure and purpose of your businesses. If you want business assets to be kept totally separate to enhance your liability protection, multiple LLCs may be a good idea for you. It's always important to consult with an attorney or tax professional to learn more. And you cannot have multiple LLCs under one EIN. That's what I just said. An EIN is a unique identification number. And 2 LLCs, 3 LLCs, 5 LLCs can have the same address. So if they can operate out of the same address, keep in mind that customers searching for your business online may get confused seeing different business names at one address. Consider whether a unique virtual address may be a good move for your LLC. It's one of those things where, going back to what I said earlier, you want to really separate your business affairs from your personal affairs. And at the same time, you also want to separate each business's affairs from the others. Okay. That way you are really running each business on its own. That's again, if you want to really have multiple LLCs. So the bottom line here is if you want to go the multiple LLC route, just make sure that you are going to do a lot of maintenance. If you're comfortable with the maintenance, if you have a team or if you have a setup that will help you maintain that that sort of structure, then that's not a problem. You can really do it. Thank you so much for your attention. I really appreciate it. In today's conversation, I just spoke to you about how many LLCs you can have. And I talked to you about the pros and cons of having multiple LLCs, the alternatives to having multiple LLCs, how to form multiple LLCs. And I ended by talking a little bit about how many LLCs you can have. Thank you so much. God bless you. I'll speak to you another time. Until then, remember, stay marvelous.